Okay, so we have the two halves of the brain here. You should be prepared to check out with either side of the brain. You can always tell which side is the back because of this cauliflower or branched cluster. So that cluster is called the cerebellum. So this would be the back of this side, this would be the back of this side. The cerebellum coordinates muscle movement. Directly on the opposite side of the brain then would be the front of the brain. So this would be the frontal lobe. On this half, this would be the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is going to produce speech, initiate muscle movement, and help with problem solving, planning, and concentration. On the top of the head, we have the parietal lobe. So on this half, the parietal lobe is here. On this half, the parietal lobe is here. The parietal lobe helps interpret speech. It helps pick up on sensation or your senses. Between the parietal lobe and the cerebellum, at the back of the brain here, is the occipital lobe. So here it is on this one. Here it is over here. The occipital lobe controls your vision. The last lobe is the temporal lobe. It is the literal side or center region of the brain. So this area here in both is the temporal lobe. The temporal lobe has three structures you need to know: the corpus callosum, the thalamus, and the hypothalamus. The corpus callosum is the easiest to identify. It's this solid tissue line that you see here, and I see it over here in this one as well. The corpus callosum is going to connect the left and right hemispheres of the brain to allow the left and right side of the body to coordinate. Directly underneath the corpus callosum, around here and around here, are your thalamus and hypothalamus. I'm not going to be picky about exactly where you point to as long as it's under the corpus callosum. Your thalamus is going to help pick up on senses or your sensory reception, and your hypothalamus helps with sleep, fluid ion levels, body temperature, and again, directly underneath corpus callosum. The last structure is this tail part. This is the brainstem. Over here, here's the tail or the brainstem. The brainstem has three structures you need to be familiar with: the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata. At the very front of the brainstem here is the midbrain. Over here, it would be right here. The midbrain controls your fight or flight response. Directly behind it, in the middle of the brainstem, is the pons. Over here, it would be right here. Your pons controls your breathing or respiratory reflexes. At the very back of the brainstem, back over here, is the medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata helps with a lot of homeostasis processes, blood pressure, and heart rate.